How you doing? I'm Big D. Welcome to the show. A little under the weather right now, but this is something that I had to get out. I have to get out to everybody, and I hope you understand me with my nasally tone today. If you don't want to look at the screen, my pretty face, then just listen to the audio. This is something I believe you're going to want to know. Then the next few minutes is going to challenge every assumption you hold about the precious metals market, which is silver, gold, copper. There's multiple metals out there that you probably should hold. Now, you clicked on this video because you're holding silver, I'm assuming, or gold, waiting for the dollar to collapse. I don't know if you know that the dollar is about ready to collapse, but this is my perception. You can look into it as well. The Treasury website shows you that we are over 97% done with our US dollar. US currency is being returned to our country because nobody wants it any longer. They do not want to give us loans, etc. But while you've been staring at the silver charts, waiting for a breakout that keeps getting hammered down, but it is still climbing, Friday afternoon, silver ended at 100, at least on the JM Bullion website, $103.93 per ounce. It's pretty awesome, right? I don't think we've even come close to seeing any real changes. June 2025, silver per ounce was $30 an ounce. More than tripled. Now, after the paper silver hammers down the markets and smart money on the planet, or the whales, the tech giants, the sovereign wealth funds that have quietly started dumping their defensive positions to front run the single greatest supply squeeze of the 21st century. If you want the truth about the markets, not the sanitized narrative you get from CNBC, hit the subscribe button because I'm going to have more of this. And if you go back in this past week, I've had multiple reports on what is going on with silver. And guess what? It actually came true. Now, the algorithm hates this kind of information because it disrupts the status quo, the deep state. You can believe in that, or maybe you don't. But why are things suppressed in our lives? And there's a lot that has been suppressed. A lot of information held from the American people, from the world even. I mean, some of the things that you should know. And that's definitely another story. Right now, the mainstream ticker is bleeding red. Silver is down a little, well, down a little bit more than what you would expect gold to be because the silver to gold ratio. Retail sentiment is in the gutter. People are capitulating, selling their stacks because they're tired of manipulation. But that is what's flooding the market. If you've tried to sell your silver, you can't do it. I've called a couple of different locations and they will not take silver. They're not going to be at this high level. And then if it collapses, they're going to be holding on to something that they can't get rid of at least the price that they bought it for. So some of the coin shops and pawn shops around town, they are still accepting, but they're not giving you anywhere near the price that they're seeing on the spot values through any of the bullion websites that you might be watching. Now look at what Samsung's doing. Look at what the biggest infrastructures are building on earth are doing. They are bypassing the public markets entirely. I've confirmed this in the past that major tech conglomerates are signing direct off-market off-take agreements for copper. They aren't buying silver futures or gold bars. They are locking in on copper supply for 2, 3, or even 5 years out. Why? Because copper is no longer just a boring industrial metal. It is the new Bitcoin. It is the scarce decentralization essential asset that powers the entire future economy of the United States. And there is a mathematically, and it is mathematically not enough of it to go around. That is why the price of copper is going up considerably from where it has ever been. Every week you might look and see what the price of copper is, and it's doing the same thing silver is. Commodities in general, majority of them are up. The, the title asks why smart money is dumping silver for this industrial metal. It's not because they hate silver, it's because capital flows to where the growth is. Silver is insurance. What you hold when you're scared, the house will burn down. Copper is the building material for New World. Right now, we are witnessing a rotation from fear to growth, from defense to offense. Institutions are dumping their insurance policies to buy the only asset that allows the AI revolution, the green energy transition, the electrification of the global economy to actually happen. Now, this isn't about 10% gain or trade. This is about the structural supercycle that rivals the adoption of the internet or the birth of cryptocurrency. We are calling copper the new Bitcoin, not because it's digital, but because the supply dynamics mimic the scarcity of the Bitcoin. Why the demand dynamics mimics the exponential adoption curve of the internet? You have a fixed cap supply getting harder to extract, colliding with a demand shock that is vertical. While you watch silver get slammed by paper shorts, copper is holding the line. In a sea of red, copper is the rock. That stability tells you everything. Now, there is a bid underneath this market so deep that strong that even a global liquidity flush can't break it. Paper traders can't push silver around because it's a small emotional market, but they can't push copper around because of physical buyers. The people who actually need the metal to run their businesses are standing there with wide open arms buying every dip. The mainstream press will tell you commodities are crashing, that recession is coming, and you should be in cash. They are looking at the exit signs. I'm looking at the VIP entrance where the whales are walking in. I see in the great decoupling for 50 years, copper moved with the economy. That correlation is breaking. We are entering a phase where the economy could flatline, but copper will hit the moon because of the bottleneck of only sectors that are growing, AI and energy. Let's dig into the market structure because this is where new Bitcoin comparison really makes sense. In Bitcoin, we have every 4 years, new Bitcoin supply gets cut in half, creating a supply shock. In copper, we are living through a geological halving. The ore grade, the amount of copper you get out of a ton of rock have dropped 30% since 2000. We are mining more rock to get less metal. The easy copper is gone at the surface. Now we're digging deeper. The cheap copper, I don't think we're going to be able to find any stockpiles of it anywhere anytime soon. What is left is deep underground, low grade, and expensive to extract and refine. At the same time, time to bring a new mine online has blown out to about 15 years. If you find a copper deposit today, you won't get a single pound of metal out of it until at least 2030s, early 2030s. The supply response is dead. In economics, high prices are supposed to cure high prices from incentivizing new supply. But in copper, high prices can't create new supply for a decade, and at least a decade and a half. The supply is very limited, and you're going to see that skyrocket as well. Copper is priced at poundage, but could it be priced per ounce in the future? If you have copper, you might want to hold on to it and ride out the wave. Now, just like Bitcoin has a hard cap of 21 million, copper has a temporary hard cap imposed by physics and bureaucracy. Now, look at the demand side. This is where smart money is positioning. They aren't looking at construction in China. That's the old narrative. They're looking at AI data centers. A single chat GTP query uses 10 times the energy of a Google search. The build out of AI infrastructure is the most undertaking in human history. Microsoft, Google, Amazon, they are in arms race building data centers the size of small cities. And you cannot build a data center without massive amounts of copper in the cooling systems. Power distribution units, backup generators, transformers, then all the electrical vehicles that are being sold on the market. An EV uses 4 times as much silver as a gas car. We aren't talking about a niche market anymore. Every major automaker is transitioning. Then add grid modernization, renewable energy targets, wind turbines, solar farms. It is a wall of demand. We need to add 750,000 metric tons of new copper supply every single year just to meet baseline growth. And we don't have that. We are facing a 10 million metric ton deficit in 2030. This is why Amazon Web Services is bypassing the London Metals Exchange. They know that if they wait to buy copper on the open market in a few years, there won't be any, none, or very, very limited, and that's going to be super expensive. Now, risk management models are at these tech giants have flagged copper availability as a strategic threat to their existence. If they run out of chips, they can't wait. If they run out of copper, they can't plug the chips in. So why are they dumping silver? It's about opportunity costs. Capital has to live somewhere. For the last few years, silver and gold were the place to hide. But smart money doesn't hide forever. When they see a setup where the downside is limited by massive physical buying and the upside is uncapped due to structural shortage, they rotate. They are selling the asset that protects wealth to buy the asset that creates wealth. The silver market is driven by paper derivatives. It is easily manipulated, frustrating, churning. The copper market is being taken over by the strategic acquirers. When Amazon buys copper, they don't sell it back next week. They buy it in a data center for 30 years. This is taken off the market forever. This is the ultimate hodl. Now, the float, the amount of copper available for trading, is shrinking every day, every single day. The copper and gold to gold ratio is the macro signal confirming the rotation. Now, when this ratio rises, it means the market is valuing growth and infrastructure over safety. We just completed a massive technical correction in this ratio. It has bottomed and started to overturn. This is the signal that the cycle has shifted. The era of the pure defense is ending. We are entering the era of build out. If you are sitting here holding only silver, you are fighting the last war. You are in a bunker waiting for the bombs to fall while the rest of the world is outside building a new central civilization. I'm not saying silver is bad because I love silver. I own silver. I definitely love silver. But it is my assurance against the collapse of the dollar. But I do not expect silver to make me rich. I expect to keep me from being poor. Copper is the trade that changes your life if you catch the cycle right now. I know what the skeptics are screaming, but a recession is coming. Copper crashes in a recession. This is the number one argument I hear, and it is why retail investors are missing the boat. Yes, copper is historically cyclical, but if we are manufacturing recession, traditional demand drops. But this time is different. The demand for copper today is now coming from consumer electronics or housing startups or starts alone. It is coming from strategic government mandated corporate existential infrastructure projects. Do you think Google stops building AI centers because GDP drops 1%? No, they accelerate because AI is the future survival. Do you think the government stops subsidizing the green grid because of a recession? No, they print more money to stimulate the economy through infrastructure spending. The demand is locked in. It is policy driven, survival driven, not sensitive to the business cycle like it is used to be. And furthermore, even if the demand softens lightly, the supply cliff is so steep it doesn't even matter. If demand drops 2%, but supply drops 5% because of depleting ore grades and water shortages in Chile, prices go up. They definitely still go up. We are in a structural deficit, not a cyclical one. The one argument is recycling. We'll just recycle more copper. No, we won't. Not for these applications. You cannot use recycled copper for high performance AI chips and high voltage EV wiring. It requires 999.99% purity. Recycled copper is dirty with impurities. It's fine for plumbing, but useless for the high-tech applications driving this boom. We need virgin copper, and we can't find it. So what is the play? How do you position yourself for the new Bitcoin? First, stop obsessing over it. The day-to-day price of silver, stop watching the TikTok manipulation that you might want to check out silver on 3, 4, 5, 10 times a day, see where the price is going because it's so volatile. It's a distraction designed to wear you out, be honest with you. And I do it. Don't get me wrong, I still do it. While you are emotionally exhausted from silver volatility, the copper price is putting in a higher floor. I am personally watching right around $6 a pound, like a hawk, be honest with you. And as long as copper holds this level, the thesis is intact. If you see a border market crash, an S&P 500 jumps 20% and copper stays flat, that is the all-in signal. That is the moment that decoupling is undeniable. You cannot easily stack physical copper. It's too heavy. The value density is too low. you'll need a warehouse to store $50,000 worth of copper. So smart money isn't buying copper bars to put it in a safe. They're buying the producers, the mining companies that sit on the reserves. But not just any are miner. They are buying the ones with high grade deposits in safe jurisdictions. They are buying ETFs like Copex to get broad exposure. But here's the trap. The retail crowd is going to chase this this too late. They're not going to let you know. They are going to wait until copper hits $8 or $10 a pound. Wait until CNBC runs a special segment on the copper cycle, the super cycle. But then smart money will be selling to you. The time to position is when silver is crashing and copper is boring. When nobody is talking about it. When I say dumping, I mean reallocating. Institutional portfolios have risk budgets. If they want to go heavy into copper because they see 5 times or 10 times potential, they have to sell something. They're selling assets that are underperformed. Silver has been dead money for decades. It has massive potential, yes, but the opportunity cost if you hold it while the AI infrastructure boom takes off is massive. Again, I'm not telling you what to do. I'm not telling you to run out and buy this and sell that. Read my disclaimer. I am not a professional, but I am someone who gives you decent information so you can make your own judgment call. Now, this is the hard truth that silver community doesn't want you to hear. You might be right about silver eventually. You might be right 10 years from now. I think it's going to be sooner. In the meantime, you are missing the technological revolution happening right in front of your face. Copper is a proxy for the revolution. The London Metals Exchange inventories are in critical levels, just like they are silver. But what is more interesting is the shadow inventory, the metal disappearing from warehouses, but not showing in commercial stockpiles. It is going into private reserves, into the strategic stockpiles of nations like China. China dominates the copper processing market. They know that if they control the copper, they control the global transition to renewable energy. Why do you think Trump is all about different countries like that, like Venezuela and Greenland? And he talks about the minerals. You think it's minerals as in some kind of something we can't use for technology or weaponry? Well, it's pretty much all of that. They are sucking the market dry. The West is waking up to this too late, I thought. But we had to get a president in there that has a clue. And the U.S. government has finally added copper to the critical mining list, minerals list. But our list doesn't mine metal. It takes money and time, and we are out of time. That's why it was such a rush to get Greenland. And it was another rush to help out with the Ukraine and Russian war because we're getting precious minerals from that country as well. And the same thing goes with other countries that Trump has made deals with. Whether you believe it or not, I believe we are going to be set for future. But we're talking another 5 to 10 years where another possible administration steps in and takes this all away. So be aware when new presidential voting comes into play, you vote correctly. Now, I keep my core insurance position, but any new capital, it's not going into gold or silver, it's going into copper complex. I am looking for that upside, the asset that has has to go up mathematically regardless of what the Federal Reserve does with interest rates. If the Fed cuts rates, copper flies because the dollar drops and the emergency market booms. Now, if the Fed raises Fed raises rates, copper holds because the supply constraint is physical, not monetary. It is the perfect hedge. It wins in almost every scenario, except the complete collapse of the human civilization, in which case your silver won't help you much either. I am watching the LME inventory reports every morning at 5-ish in the morning, 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning, watching the spread between the future prices and the physical premiums. Right now, premiums are rising. That means the real price of copper, the price you pay to actually get it, is detaching from the paper price. This is exactly what we want to see. It is in the same dynamic that sends Bitcoin into parabolic run. Scarcity meetings, desperation, the narrative and shifting for the last 15 years, the story on digital gold, Bitcoin, real gold. The story of the next 10 years is digital energy and physical energy. Copper is the conduit for both. You cannot have digital economy without a physical copper backbone. It is the bridge between the two worlds. So when you see red on your screen today, when you see silver down, well, it won't be today. It's opening back up Monday, obviously. But I was going through this script. I didn't change that for you. I apologize. Now take a step back. Look at copper. It hasn't budged. That is strength. That is the signal. Smart money is telling you where the future value is. They are quietly accumulating the most essential resource in the 21st century while the crowd panics over paper price manipulation in the precious metals market. Don't let volatility shake you out of the macro view. The rotation has begun. The copper supply shock is here. The institutions are positioning. The only question is, are you going to watch the new Bitcoin explode from the sidelines, or are you going to recognize the pattern before the rest of the world catches on? To recap, 1, silver is being dumped by institutions to free up capital for high growth industrial assets. And I believe this is why it's harder to sell your silver right now, along with what I talked about earlier. Now, the 2 is decoupling from a general economy and trading on a scarcity tech thesis. 3, major tech companies are panicking and they're panic buying supply off market, creating a shadow deficit. 4, the supply cliff is 15 years deep, meaning it's going to be about 15 years before these new discovery of mines are available to mine and get it to market. Any of the precious metals. Price cannot fit it quickly. 5, the price floor is holding very firm. It doesn't drop, and it's not as volatile as some of the other markets, like silver. Now, this is the trade of the decade. Do you own research, check the charts, verify the inventory data, but do you ignore this? The train is leaving the station. It will be tracking the specific miners and inventory levels, and you should do it as well. If you want to know exactly which companies are best positioned to capitalize on this super cycle, make sure you subscribe, because I'll have some future updates and some different companies that you must be watching. The shift is happening right now. Keep your eyes open, stay sharp. Keep watching out for my next videos. I try to have one every day, whether it be silver, precious metals, some other things that are going on with our economy that affects you the most. Try to have a great rest of your day. God bless. And I'll see you soon. Hit the like button. Subscribe.